Well, looking at the markets picture, we've had a few company results starting to trickle in. I'm going to start off with Bamburi this morning. The first half pre-tax profit jumping 55%. How has the market reacted to those numbers?
Well, I haven't seen Bamburi being one of the top three price performers in the market. But of course, as you have rightly said, the performance of Bamburi is encouraging in a market where we have had growth of profit for some of these companies in the market ranging between 10 and 20%.
Looking at some of the challenges they face, though, I mean, production costs have risen 52%. Is that a concern as we move forward here? The company managing those cost bases effectively enough?
Yeah, it is a concern for a lot of people, including myself, given the fact that a lot of what we are experiencing right now hasn't been experienced for quite a while. For example, the power rationing, the lack of rain, and the rationing of water, and all these other issues that are to do with the economy. It's rather a concern for everybody, and people are asking themselves whether some of the growth projections that we had at the start of the year are really likely to be gained. Well,
in fact, the company has highlighted energy costs as one of the major burdens and pressure points it's had to contend with. Of course, for many sectors of the economy, this holds true. In the agricultural, in the industrial space, power constraints have set up major obstacles. Let's look at the news that's come out of Kenyan, with it issuing a bond in order to raise its power production capacity. What have you made of that news?
Well, for a lot of companies now, the bond market is becoming very active. That is the corporate bond market. We have quite a number of companies that are lining up the issuance of bonds. Just to put a little issue in perspective, the fact is that Kengen is really in need of these funds. And you know that some of these companies that are in the power sector require a heavy capital outlay so that they can be able to meet some of the targets that are required. Just for comparison, you know, South Africa, for example, has about, in the region of about 5,000 megawatts of installed capacity. That can be compared to Kenya, which is, you know, in the region of, say, between 1,000 and 3,000. In my view, we need to invest more in energy in order for us to be able to meet some of the demands that are coming in. Remember also that right now we have some serious power rationing going on, and that has been an issue that manufacturers have raised. And the concern is that going forward, energy cost is going to be determining what the total cost of production is going to be.
Do you anticipate that the Kengen Corporate Bond is going to be getting the response it anticipates in being oversubscribed?
Well, you know, for this market, a lot of investors look at, you know, the potential that the company has, you know, how feasible some of the projects that it is talking about are going to be implemented, and also what is the credibility of management in terms of the implementation of some of the projects and the promises that have been made in the past. So looking at that, I would initially, of course, we are looking at the company and trying to figure out whether actually a lot of the investors should be advised to get into the bond. But going forward, I think some of the information that is trickling in will be determining whether the bond will be oversubscribed or not. But there's competition, of course. Safaricom is also doing the same. CFC Stanbic raised some amount in the past few days. Of course, liquidity is also an issue. So going forward, my view is that there is interest, yes, and we are in the initial stages. Maybe over time I'll be able to tell you what the response is going to be.
Well, a lot dependent on that pricing, because one would assume that for any serious investors, direction would be focused on big companies, as you say, like Safaricom, which could have more attractive pricings. Of course, this, you know, capital raising initiative is just the start. We've still got plans underway for before Kengen actually gets a power producing capacity up to the levels that it says it will. For many sectors of the economy, they've been burdened, as we've been saying. To what extent have the markets priced in headwinds already as a result of power constraints in Kenya in these respective spaces?
My belief is that the power sector in Kenya has had a lot of challenges, and my view is that there needs to be some serious strategy planning to ensure that some of the installed capacities markedly improved in order to ensure that the demand for power is met, and there are no power blackouts or rationing or anything like that. Just to add, the fact that there is rationing going on, of course, means that a lot of these companies are operating below capacity, and especially for SMEs, that's quite a challenge because some of them have tight schedules in terms of the other costs that they are supposed to meet, and where there is no power, of course, you can't operate. So going forward, I think that is going to be a key factor to determine whether Kenya is going to be growing at the rate it should, and by extension, whether a lot of these companies that some of whom would be wishing to come to Kenya actually come to Kenya and establish themselves in the country.
Let's very quickly look at Access Kenya. It also reported numbers this morning, and we know that we had been anticipating somewhat of a knock in profits for the company, given the fact that the global economic downturn had affected some of the company's customers, with some of the customers having closed their businesses as a result of the economic downturn in Kenya. Have you had a chance to actually look at those numbers this morning?
Well, they just came a few minutes ago. I think, if I'm not wrong, they registered some drop in profits for the first half compared to a similar half last year. My view is that the company has been investing heavily in the fiber optic cable, trying to connect as many business units as possible. And I think going forward, because there is also the issue of competition that is coming out very strongly, going forward, I think the invested capital is going to be returning some, say, 2 to 3 years from today. And in my view, going forward, a lot of the companies that are in the telecommunications sector should try to up their innovativeness in order to ensure that they are able to cut the cycle of the Kenyan, so that Kenyans can be able to see the benefits of getting looped into some of the internet services offered by Access Kenya.